Well, welcome back to my catfish reel reviews. This is gonna be chapter 2 of my title Low Profile Reels for Catfish. And today I got a gem ready for you. And without further ado, I present to you Garcia Revo Toro 51 S. As always, let's take a look at the reel first. Then we'll look at the box specs, and then I'll go through the components. Let me know if you think that's pretty. I find this really pretty, and I find it even prettier if you own a white rod. Have you seen Ugly Stick Catfish rods with attitude? Yeah, these are Abus. Now let's look at the box real quick. First of all, besides the usual schematic, you will find a rather fancy warranty form. And then they actually provide you with some bearings oil. The first thing to say here is that 51 stands for left hand. If you're interested in the right hand version, you will be looking at 50. So starting from top, the reel has 5 bearings, 4 stainless steel bearings and 1 anti-reverse, 5.3 to 1, which is a good gear ratio for bottom fishing. I would prefer even lower than 5. And 25 pound of drag. This is in the domain of saltwater fishing. I don't think you need 25 pounds of drag for catfish, to be honest. Even for an 80-pound catfish, I would not apply 25 pound of drag to my line and risk losing the fish. The weight, note the weight. This reel is not light, despite the low profile format. The spool similar to the Daiwa Lexa 400. On the other side, the features basically say that the reel has special bearings, special drag system, special frame, and this one is a biggie, special heavy-duty gears. The rest of the features are marketing gimmick. There's nothing special about a magnetic brake system, aluminum spool, or oversized handle, an oversized knob. Oh look, they made 2 features from the handle. One feature for the knobs, one feature for the handle. Well, let's go through these features now and see if they're special indeed. Let's start from the last feature on the box, the handle. The handle is oversized, good for catfishing. The knobs are not that oversized, but they're slim profile and really comfortable, and nice grip as well. So I really like the handle, but the handle is really nothing special. No bearings here, no power knobs like on this guy. Like if you compare these 2 handles, this one is far superior, even in aesthetics. So great handle, but nothing special. Next, we have a clicking start rack. Micro clicking, may I say. The knob has very long range of adjustment, meaning from completely loose to fully tightened you have almost 3 full revolutions. So whatever level of drag you desire, you will be able to find that level precisely. We already mentioned the reel has 25 pounds of drag, which is not even necessary, but it is impressive. Let me show you the carbon washers because I don't want to open this reel. Do you see the shape of these washers? Interesting, isn't it? I don't know what's the point of that, but it is a proprietary drag system, so I guess it's appropriate to give it its own name. Now when you just hold the spool and test the drag like this, you can immediately tell if you have experience with replacing these drag washers. These are high quality drag washers. And when you look at the size of the gear set, I mean, this is ginormous gears, and you can imagine the size of the drag washers inside. They're going to be enormous too. That's why the reel has 25 pounds of drag. The size of this main gear makes this possible. I have to add a line here. All of the ABUs that I own, they have weaknesses and strengths, but all of them have exceptional drag systems. The ABUs always have good drags. Just like on the Daiwa, the spool tension knob does not click, but is very tight. I don't think you risk losing this knob. It's so tight that it will always stay in the position you leave it. I have no issues with this. Now the gears. Like I said, I don't want to open this reel, but I opened this one in my previous review, and the size of the gear was 45 millimeter in diameter. This one is even larger. It's 49 millimeter in diameter. Okay, so huge main gear. And if you look at the thicknesses of the gearboxes, the ABUS gearbox is actually thicker as well, because the actual gear disc is thicker. So I was really impressed with the size of the Daiwa Lexa main gear, but this thing, for a low profile reel, I mean, look at the size of this thing. You can palm it, you can cast, it just disappears in your hand. For the size of this reel, to have this monstrous main gear, tell me, how many catfish can put a strain on this main gear? I hope I catch in my lifetime a catfish that can put a strain on this main gear, but just ginormous main gear. And may I say, the main gear is not only large in size and from hardened materials, but it's cut with such a precision that when you turn the handle, you feel that there is absolutely no free play between the gears. You feel perfect smoothness. Something that I mentioned was lacking in this reel. So yeah, in my opinion, the gear on this reel is the #1 feature and the most impressive feature of all. Let's look at the frame now. I think the key to a sturdy and smooth feeling catfish reel is a solid one-piece, preferably metal frame. I don't know if it's aluminum, but to be honest, if it's steel, even better as far as I'm concerned, as long as it doesn't rust, which I don't think it will. So this frame is one piece. It is a true one piece. The reel seat is not attached with little screws like on this $500 Yoga. and it's painted the same color as the frame. The clutch is another really impressive feature on this reel. It doesn't look special. It doesn't have special surface here like most of the Daiwas. Look at this non-slip surface. Even finer on the Ryogas. So this one is slick, but the feel of this clutch, can you feel it through the camera? Tell me. I think you can feel it just from the sound and the travel. This just, the moment you press this clutch and engage it, you will feel this feels expensive, butter smooth, and at the same time positive. No mushiness of any kind. This Daiwa, mushy on the way down, crisp on the way up, but mushy on the way down. All of these ambassador reels, starting from the $50 ones all the way to $200 ones, the Catfish Special, the Striper Special, they all have identical clutch. Mushy on the way down, even mushier on the way up. I don't like these clutches. This is an Abu as well. But the clutch, the feeling of this clutch, I can only compare it of everything that I own with this $500 reel. That's the only clutch that I have that feels so good. Deep travel, butter smooth, and at the same time positive. Let's look at the bearings and the brakes now. To remove the side plate, all you have to do is unscrew this knob a few times, then pull it with your nail. See, it's actually mounted on a spring, so it's not gonna pop out and in the water if you're clumsy. So pull it out and rotate the side plate, and you are in. Looking at the magnetic brake, nothing special, which is good. You just want a simple brake that works. This will be a Catfish reel. You don't need more than that. The other thing to notice here is these, remember, these are high performance corrosion resistant bearings. That's what it said on the box. Well, look at this thick green grease. This is the original grease on the bearings. I did not remove it. Even though I know that if you want fast bearings, you shouldn't put grease on them. You should only put oil on them. Is this grease what makes them corrosion resistant? I hope not. Well, they're stainless steel, so hopefully that's what makes them corrosion resistant. But anyway, I know I can wipe the grease and oil them and probably get a couple feet extra distance. But I fish from a boat, and even from the bank, I always fish close to the bank, so I would rather have the extra protection of the grease and the extra feeling of smoothness of the grease, and not replace it with oil. So if you get this reel and you see this, I recommend just leave the grease here. Now let's say a few final words about the reel and compare it with the other offering in this class, the Daiwa Lexa. Let's start with the Daiwa actually, because it will create the perfect segue for the Abu. In my review I mentioned that the reel looks perfect on paper. The perfect catfish handle. We have a clicker on such a small low profile reel. We have 9 bearings. We have aluminum one-piece frame. We have aluminum side plate. We have huge main gear and huge drag washers. Everything here is perfect on paper, and the only disappointing thing is the feel of the reel. It just doesn't feel solid. If you consider the price and the specifications and that it's made by Daiwa,
This reel has just too much free play, too much rattles, too much noises, and the retrieve just doesn't feel smooth.
Now let's contrast with the Abu. Not that impressive on paper. Only 5 bearings. 2 on the spool, 2 on the main gear, and one huge one over here on the anti-reverse. No bearings on the level wind, no bearings in the handle, so wouldn't you expect this reel to be tighter and more solid than this reel? Well, if you look at the price, no, you would not expect. This reel cost $50 more, and usually there is a reason that the more expensive reel costs more money.
You need to reel one fish with this reel to tell that it's in a completely different class in terms of quality. There are no free plays of any kind on this reel. It doesn't rattle when you shake it like the Daiwa Lexa does. It is perfectly quiet when you reel, and the retrieve is just amazingly smooth even under full load.
The only reel that I have that I can compare to this in terms of smoothness of operation and tightness and lack of free play is, of course, the Ryoga. But the Ryoga retails $550, $600. This one you can get on eBay for $200. So getting the build quality of this for less than half the price, this is what really impresses me about this reel. Somehow Abu made it. So yeah, I don't know another $200 reel that feels so solid. Well, that's all I have for today's video. I hope it helps someone with their purchasing decision. If you liked my review, please check my other reviews and subscribe to my channel. And before you go, I have several giveaways going on. Guys, please check those as well.